Hello, Asaf. Hello, Chris behind the scenes. Hello, John from Ohio. Hello, Rodrigo in Brazil. Hello, Yetzi. Hello, Corey. Hello to all of our Patricia in Ohio, to all of our friends and enemies who join us from far and near. Welcome to the Great Transition.
Drum
Okay,
roll.
here we are. We are
hmm
looking at what is going on in the world, and there is no shortage. In fact, everyone, all of the things that we witnessed so far, the virus and the fires and the riots and the shortages, we're just getting started, nature said. All right, Asaf, we need a new perspective. We need a way to get out of this. I have no faith in these politicians. I got vaxxed. I'm not pro-vax, anti-vax. I did it. My kids are in school. There's all kind of problems. This was not going to be my flag to carry, my cross to bear. Like
hmm
I grew up all into natural medicine, natural everything. Um, but I tell you what, they're coming out. You guys are already on your third booster, right? And then they're going to
Yeah,
come out with
I got a
the.
third
You
jab
already got it.
couple
Okay.
almost a week ago. Yeah.
So it's obvious this is
hmm
not going to be our solution. I mean, if you need a short-term fix in order to
Oh
get you through
no,
something.
and it's also a broken band-aid that but it's still, broken world, broken medicine, and this is kind of what you got.
That's
But
what we
there's
got.
still but the doctors still have they play some role in nature's system. Even
Okay, you're
though
getting
they're in a
Kabbalistic right
yeah.
away. All right, all right,
What?
all right, all right. All right.
Okay.
If you want
No,
to
I mean
go,
you
you want to go
brought it
Kabbalistic.
up. You brought the vaccine thing. I mean that's a big controversial matter in the world today. You might
Yeah,
get
I don't want
you
to. That's not the
you can get
controversy I want to get
stoned
into
if
right
you
now.
say you're vaccinated, and you can get stoned if you say you're not vaccinated. It becomes a whole thing. Uh, so
Turns
um,
out,
but
turns out, I
you
have
can
people.
listen to our show whether you are in favor or against it. We don't really care. That's not that's not what's going to make the show here. Okay, go ahead.
in,
Yeah.
in in the next decade, we're gonna see how everything is changing when it comes to technology, how we
Mm.
interact with each other.
hmm
My older son went back to high school, and both my kids went to high school today. Started the older son, one of his classes, the teacher showed up on a screen, wasn't even there. So how we
Mm.
interact with education, with business, when we look at what's happening in the world, when we see all these social and political conflicts,
Yeah.
there's a huge paradox. It's becoming very, very clear. We have the ability, the
Right.
potential to do so much. Okay.
Yeah.
But if we don't change, then all this great stuff, what we're going to have instead
What
is a
great
lot of.
stuff. What's the potential? Entertain me.
Okay. So basically, robots to do almost everything for you.
mm.
Virtual secretary, drones bring you all your groceries, everything right to your door. Everybody has a 3D printer. Everything you need, you can have.
Right.
You won't need to work as much. You won't need to do as much. Humanity will not have to be engaged in as much labor. We'll have a lot more free time.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
we won't be as stressed out because there will be our basic needs. There's enough on this planet. There's
Right. So
plenty,
hunger
everything.
becomes obsolete, becomes a thing of the
Hunger,
past.
home, and even just to
Malnutrition
hang
doesn't
out.
exist. Yeah.
Just hanging out. I mean, listen, what's the best times? It's when you're with all the people that you care about, and it's Friday. You already got a couple days until you got to go back to the grind. So you get
Yeah.
time. What do we want? We want
hmm
time. Who do we want it with? We want people with people who care about us and people we care about.
Right.
So, um, but the trajectory that we're heading on,
hmm
all of this technology and all of these robots and all of this automation will all be used in World War III and used to hasten natural disasters. Okay, so we need
hmm
to recalculate because all these political problems, climate problems, ecological problems, economical disasters, they're all waiting for us in the next decade.
You
So
started so positively and
I am
optimistically,
positive,
and
man.
it
I'm
was so
positive.
great. And now within a second, you just moved to
So
World
listen,
War.
there's what's the word in Hebrew? The distance between one and one, the
uh,
gap.
what Delta? It's not in Hebrew.
No, 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 no. There's a Hebrew word.
Par, par.
Par, okay, the par,
Yeah,
I love
like
that
the
word. The
gap. Yeah,
distance, the
yeah.
triangle, the delta
You know,
between.
tehom would be a better word. It means abyss. It's like an
No, but
abyss.
I like par. I just like how it
Okay.
feels in my
Yeah.
mouth. Par.
Okay.
We don't have a word like that, I don't think, in English.
Pa'al. Yeah, because you don't have that
Par.
consonant. Ein.
That
Ein. It's a
ein
consonant in
and
Hebrew that you cannot.
hummus. Yeah. Okay. So there's a huge paradox between these two extremes. Okay, a huge huge gap
Right.
between them,
Yeah.
and we need a new science that doesn't separate us from nature. It needs to incorporate our relationships and all of these natural systems and make.
Wait. So I would like to interject here and
Okay.
say that we are this paradox, this increasing conflict, this increasing dystopia uh, um, of potential abundance versus actual chaos and potential world war, that par, that gap, is something that needs to happen. It's not an evolutionary fluke. It's not a cosmic mistake. It's embedded in human evolution. It's a
Okay, producer.
required.
Now the producer needs to play the angelic music, and the light things has to happen. Enter the wisdom of Kabbalah. Exactly, because in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we're always working with these two forces,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
and me are not two holy Buddhas, that's for sure.
Oh
No,
yeah.
we grow with two lines, right? Right. The emptiness. The emptiness grows on one side, the desires grow on one side, and then the love gets added to it. Now, but where can this love come from? Where does
Right.
this
How,
where does this other side come from?
and how do these two seemingly conflicting trends uh, coincide or come to a certain new balance or merge into something new? Yeah.
You know, I read these Rabash articles like hundreds of times through the years, just always reading articles and things like that.
Just mention
Something
that who Rabash is for those who may not know what you're
Rabash
talking
is
about.
my spiritual grandpa.
Yeah,
Rabash is
basically
he's our
it's
teacher's
our
teacher.
spiritual. Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
he took these thousands of years of this wisdom of Kabbalah, and he
Yeah.
took all of the religion off of it, all of the things that, all of the kind of mystery off of it, and turned it and spoke it to us, wrote it to us in just the inner emotional uh, process that we go through, right? Like the
Hmm.
Zohar, it's, it's impossible to remove reading the Zohar from like fantasy and mystery and
Right.
magic. I mean, the language is so multi-layered and allegorical. Um,
Hmm.
and Rabash is like, boom, he's like, in, if you want to
Yeah.
be honest with, maybe it was because I was not as honest with myself, maybe it was because I just didn't even understand he was talking about me.
Hmm.
But as you start progressing and you start working inside of the Kabbalistic group with others, and you start seeing, oh my God, look at my ego over there. Oh my God, look at why did I even say that? Why did I say that to him? I'm trying to be loving. Why would I say that? Why am I thinking, okay, ready? I'm going to be loving. Why am I thinking that about them now? Right. Rabash goes in there and he says that when you feel that you're making no progress and you feel empty,
Hmm. Yep.
that's a sign that you're advancing.
That's the posterior, as we call it in Kabbalah, the achoraim,
The
the
backside of
backside
the
of the
of
next level.
of the
Of
next level, right?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
we're actually kind of, I'm not excited about the prospect of war and all these things. No, 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 no. But the emotional gap that we are
Yeah.
discovering between these two things, that's exciting.
I don't know if I'm just thinking about all the folks who are listening. I don't know if we should, maybe we should, to really take in what you just said. The gap that gap that we're talking about needs to be very visceral. Maybe we should just spend a little uh, time on just describing just how, you know, potentially the next decade, how it might look like. You know what I mean? Let's of course, a lot of it is like when you come to, you can't we no one can say what will happen tomorrow when it comes to how reality will materialize, but the trends are clear because they're fixed, they're natural forces. And so, you know, I think it really is it makes a difference when you put this picture in front of your eyes. You know what I mean? Just think about how insane it is that we're gonna have, we already do, and it's just going to increase. We're gonna have such a technology that can technically put us at a point where there's no problem whatsoever. There is no actual, real, material need for people to fight over resources or grind their whole, spend their whole lives chasing their own tails in some rat race and being stressful and suffering disease because of that. There's no reason for half the world to go hungry and children to die from malnutrition in some parts of the world. There's definitely all the possibility to feed, clothe, and house every person in the world. And more than that, we have a virtual reality where we can all of humanity, communicate above time, space, and motion. We can really conduct ourselves in an efficient way. We can preserve the planet in a truly effective way, in a way that the climate will reward us instead of getting warmer against us and so on. We All of that is within our reach. We are a species that never had so much power, that there was never such a time. So much power is in our hands on this planet. And the power to make our life paradise on earth. And then, on the other hand, like you said, all of this tech can be used to just kill each other. And if you take a good look at our stewardship of the planet, it's very clear that we are destroying our own home with every day that passes. Thousands and thousands of scientists today are saying we're doomed. It's like they don't even there. It's very hard to find a hopeful scientist today. Those who
You
really know, So that's the gap. That's the conflict. That's the paradox that we live in. This is so unprecedented. This is so 21st century. This has never happened before to the human race. We're at a very interesting, precarious, and unprecedented time.
I'm going to prove to you and to everybody listening just how useless all of these billionaires and politicians are.
Go
Okay.
for it. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I'm excited.
you take some of the most successful business people, some of the wealthiest business people, okay,
Okay.
and they
Don't you
put
dare hate on Elon Musk. I don't want to hear anything bad about Elon Musk.
he's in the
He's going to
group.
save the world.
Listen, Chris. These guys, for sure, everybody's playing their role. For example, Amazon and Bezos, they are doing a lot, have done a lot in order to automate a lot of processes and free up. I mean, in the meantime, it looks like people are becoming unemployed, but what it will do is it'll actually free people up. Here's my point. Now, it's very cool that they sent a rocket to another, 38 million miles. That's 70 million kilometers away. All right. So the
How
fact
many?
that they
70 million?
0 million kilometers, I think, is
Wow.
Mars. 38 million
That's a
miles. I
long
still don't
schlep.
have.
That's a
It's a
long
long shot, and
schlep.
I still don't have my miles to kilometers conversion done really well after all these
Right.
years. But Okay, very cool that little kids or kids play video games with their controller at home and on their screen they control something. So, wow, really cool, guys. You're on Earth with your controller, and 70 million kilometers away, you're controlling your robot. Very cool. Your camera can also send pictures from 70 million miles away. Very cool. Bravo. You guys are awesome. End of story. There's one planet
Hmm.
there is one planet in all the known universe that has a lot of water to drink and a lot of air to breathe and gorgeous places to discover and all kind of people and what else? A lot of money, a lot of land, plenty of land for all the people you can imagine. There's
Well,
plenty of land
well,
for
and
everyone.
just and the perfect conditions for life to
Great
prosper.
conditions for
Mhm.
life. Yeah. Great conditions for life. And you want to move water, you don't have a river, no problem. We have desalinization. You have a lot of sun, no problem. We have solar panels. We have everything that you need on this planet. And these idiots are going to another planet to try and make another planet livable, hospitable. How do you call it? Hospitable?
Habitable.
Habitable.
Yeah.
They want to go 38 million miles away to first plant the first seed of grass, and you can't breathe there, and there's no water there to breathe. And to all of these idiot geniuses, that's a better idea than figuring out how to get people on Earth to get along with each other and not kill each other
Uh-huh.
and not pollute the water.
Uh-huh.
They think it's easier
I
a
like the
better job
I
than to
like your
go
I,
70 million.
I like idiot geniuses. That's
They,
great. It makes sense because they're idiots because they are genius. You know what I mean?
I
Like
don't know why they're idiots, but they're idiots. I don't care how smart they are to go 70 million kilometers away
no,
to try and make
because the thought they are very smart people. They are that should be clear. These are humanity's most intelligent people, no doubt, and and also ambitious and passionate about what they do, whatever, all those superlatives, you know, give them that credit. Yet the very thought is based on an idiotic infrastructure. because because basically, even if you went to Mars or whatever it is, but let's say Mars, right? That's what they're. Even if you went there and you figured out how to bring a few millions of people to start a colony there, and you figured out how a woman can give birth without the various conditions that are required for human life and all that, you build a bubble, a dome around them, you create a whole kind of artificial climate there, and you figure out how to make a planet that's dead into a planet that is alive. Even if you do
hold on
that,
a second. How many years that would take?
of course, yeah, 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 years and lives in the process will be, people will be casualties in the process. Tremendous amount of planning and trying and trial and error and resources. It's just it's insane.
Stupid.
Why is it stupid though? Wait. Let's put the it's idiotic if you think that is going to save humanity. If you think about it like a little, again, the those billionaires, geniuses will excuse me, but if you think about it like a little kid, this is a great idea. It's fun, it's exciting, it's adventurous, it's new, it's pioneering. They're trailblazers. Woohoo! It's amazing. It is amazing, to build human life on a new planet. But it's stupid when when you think this is going to save mankind, because Even if you did all of that, what will happen then? Let's take us 100 years from now, 200 years from now. We're on that planet. Everything's working, including electricity, Wi-Fi, and all the rest, right? Now, what are you going to have after 200 years? Once
Forget about it,
again,
bro. We can
people
we can
getting
we can
depressed,
we can
people
live
starting war. Yeah.
we can live on 50 planets. We can discover friends on 1,000 planets. We can travel the whole universe if we want to. We can do everything. Everything is ahead of us. But this is like, I don't know, this is like taking the smartest guy in the class and having him work on like the dumbest thing possible. It's like the way to it, the way what we are talking about a situation where when we connect, here's the problem. All of the things that they can think about, it's just in the problem we have when we talk about connection and when we talk about love, the real problem that we have is that these words contain like less than 1% of the power that we intend for them to have. Because
Right.
connection,
And there's
I'm
also
connecting.
all this cultural baggage they awaken, which has nothing to do with the actual content of, the true spiritual content of these terms. Yeah.
Yeah, if I mean, it's like, am I connected? Yeah, I got a signal. Okay, I'm connected. Oh, I love that kind of dog. The one that's like doesn't shed inside and is like really cute and like, these words. That's love. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about some spiritual concept that is these spiritual concepts. When we talk about connection, when we talk about love, this is something that it makes it really, really hard to communicate these things because when there is this kind of connection that we're talking about between people, the one that the wisdom of Kabbalah is the method that it's describing to us how to create between us. What happens is that right now, from the skin inward, we have five senses perceiving the world. That's how we perceive the world, right? A dog perceives the world totally different through his nose. A bat, through sonar. So we're perceiving the world exactly how we do through our senses. When we have a connection together, and this is not a hocus pocus, this is not some kind of magic or anything like that. This is like if you take hydrogen and you take oxygen and you put them together in the correct way, you get water. Right? Think about that, everyone. Hydrogen, flammable. Oxygen, flammable. Put them together. That's the basis for all of life. That's what they're searching the whole universe for, water. Right? So when you take these two flammable things but put them together, some other magic, some Kabbalah magic happens, some other thing happens there. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, when we say connection, it's a certain kind of connection, right? Hydrogen and oxygen, if they didn't connect in the right way, they don't have to worry about it. They had like millions or billions of years to figure out through all these different processes until they did it. For us, we don't have that kind of time. I mean, time has time. We don't have time. If we want to go through this in our lives in a good way,
time has time.
Time has time. We don't have time. So
yeah.
when we talk about connection, we're talking about us when we come together in this right connection, when we read these books and understand this method about what's going on in this gap and learn how to bridge that connection, then all of a sudden I'm not just perceiving reality with my five senses. I acquire your senses. It's actually called spiritual senses. It's actually some other kind of perception. It's not that I have your eyes. We begin to perceive other things in reality, like that we didn't perceive before. And then we start to feel where these solutions are. Then we start to feel what our next thing is, right? Like today, I feel like I'm hungry, like I'm being drawn towards that silver thing in the kitchen. When I open it, I'm, like you can add all kind of language. I know I'm hungry. I'm drawn towards the refrigerator. So here, when we connect, we're already drawn towards, we already perceive where the solution is. We already perceive where our actions are. That's the problem. That's the problem with these guys. It doesn't matter. You take Einstein, you can take anyone, you can take the greatest mind ever, you can take the richest one ever. Without this science, without the understanding of how to connect together, they're trapped. They're trapped on one rock, looking at how to do something on another rock, and it will
Right.
never be more than that.
But I think even before you go there, and we should go there, but even just, without any understanding whatsoever of the spiritual nature of reality and that deep layer of a connected reality that we're talking about, even without any understanding of that, right? Just the thought that for humanity to survive, for humanity to, to prosper, we need to move to a new planet. That is childish, because just because, if you have people on a different planet and you haven't changed the people, you're going to get the same thing you always got. You're going to get conflict, you're going to get depression, you're going to get pollution, you're going to get depletion, you're going to get climate crisis. So you're not really fixing anything. The 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 one kind of, it's like humanity throughout history, we are kind of like, we're running in circles. And the one thing that we're not doing is taking a look into ourselves and our relationships, our thoughts, our intentions, our desires, and how they interact with each other and the natural system that we're in. We always try to sort of improve our situation by fixing something on the outside. And so there's there's there has to be a point where, and we have to get to like a dead end for this to happen. There has to be a point where we rise above this limited perception, and we begin to see all of reality as one thing. The person, the individual, society, how we relate to each other, and the natural system, it's all one thing. That is the sense, this new sense, a sense as in not just a sensation, but as in a sensory organ, a sense like you said, like one of our five senses. That is the sense that we currently don't have.
Talk about it a little bit technically. You gave this thing of this model of three, and then you started talking about. I know you're speaking about the construction of the soul. So
Mm-hmm.
can you use a little bit of technical language so that it'll be easier to? Because here's the problem. When you say like you look inside, right?
Yeah.
So before I came to the wisdom of Kabbalah, I did a lot of things. I tried religion, I tried meditation, I tried drugs, I tried a lot of things. This thing of like look inside,
Yeah.
I looked inside a lot,
Right.
you know.
Right. Needs to be
So,
clarified. Yeah.
yeah, what happens, for example, in these in these articles by the Rabash, when you start reading the Kabbalistic articles, you start getting some kind of mile markers, landmarks, for example, so that when you go inside, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's the fountain. Oh, there's the mountain over there. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you start to recognize the landscape because what's inside of you is not so different. We not basically, we are all made of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, your details, you may be from an African village and you may be a Nordic Viking. So
Right.
the kind of your clothing on top of the desires may feel or look differently, but you can still notice the valley and the mountain and the river and the
Yeah.
wave inside yourself once you start. And that's really what these Kabbalists are giving us. It's
Mm-hmm.
not some kind of original thought. They're they're perceiving something. They're perceiving that thing we talked about before, when you connect with the others and then you feel what's there, and then they're
Yeah.
writing it to us, and through the generations they're writing it in a language that's suitable for each generation. So if you can talk about what you were saying but use a little bit more technical language just to give us some
Mm.
landmarks inside, and if it's kind of too complicated or something, we can back off.
Mm.
But I think it would be helpful to explain what you're trying to explain here.
How technical. Uh we have to go a little bit backwards, so to speak. We have to go not in time necessarily, but into the root of reality. At the root of reality, everything is one. There are no many different aspects and facets and pieces of reality. There is just one reality. Now, this is not something that is unique to Kabbalah. You will find this in many traditions, in all kinds of ancient wisdoms. This is something that ancient people were more aware of. They had an instinctive sense of this. Sometimes you'll find it as like the unified field of consciousness or any other kind of expression. But here's where Kabbalists differ. Kabbalists have found that we are scattered, shattered pieces of a single vessel that is actually just one connected vessel, one collective vessel, but we each are a piece of it. We feel,
What is this vessel? What is this vessel?
and that vessel is the only substance of creation that was created. It's
What's in that
made.
vessel?
It's made of desire. It's made
What's
of
in
a.
it?
It's
What
made of
fills
it.
it?
What fills it ultimately is the very force that created it, which is a force opposite to it, a force of ultimate, unconditional, complete abundance and bestowal. That
So
is the
before all these
governing force
pieces,
of reality, the enlivening force, the creative force of reality that is behind all of nature. It created a vessel that it can fulfill. That's what stands at the basis of this reality. Now we perceive,
wait,
we
hold
can't.
on, hold
Yeah.
on. I want to make
Okay.
these
Okay.
these marks inside of us so that when
Yeah,
we
that's
look
a good.
inside,
Right.
okay, so there's this endless light, which many cultures, peoples described, talked about, right? Now we're
Yes,
talking
because
about
throughout history, some people have had some instinctive sense of it, um, from many different
I think
people,
if you just go
different.
out into the desert and look up, you kind of start to feel that. I think it's probably very
Yeah.
natural
So
inside of people.
in an on a, but again in an instinctive way, not not like a scientist or a researcher that actually explores it and quantifies it and measures it and experiments with it. That is where Kabbalists are unique. Okay, but you can find many other people throughout history who were sensitive enough to feel that nature is one, that we are all one, and that what appears to us as separation is really an illusion of perception. This is something some scientists understood it even without feeling it. Scientists, uh, you can say, felt it on an intellectual level. Einstein talked about it. Um, that's
So
why.
hold on. So you
Yeah.
have
Okay.
this endless
So you have this
oneness.
oneness. This
And then
oneness. Yeah.
now you brought into the picture some vessel, and somehow this
Right.
vessel holds all of this oneness, whatever that means. But just want to understand that's where we're at so far in the story, right?
The vessel. The vessel was shattered to pieces. That means that in its perception,
Before the shattering,
before the shattering,
uh,
yes, there's one
you have
vessel. There's one
one vessel.
vessel that contains, let's say, all of that what we call light in Kabbalah,
Okay,
which is
and that
that. Yeah.
okay. So that's there's this one thing. And then the next thing after that is that there's some vessel that kind of somehow, whatever that means, contains that whole thing.
It's not somehow
I
that
don't want to get into all the
vessel,
details yet. I just want to
right? Because
generally make a form of in this process. We're
The
not going to spend
vessel,
10
the
hours on
vessel.
each step, but I want to.
Okay, so we can't go into all of this, of course,
No, I
because
want to just
but
generally understand where each stop, each beat along the story is happening.
so I would
Okay.
say the next big one is this: the vessel, although it contained all the light, it did not have any consciousness of the light or itself. It's like an embryo in a womb. Does it exist? Until today, people are arguing, and there's religious arguments and political arguments and moral arguments about when can you consider the embryo an actual living creature, at what stage, right? It's a very controversial matter, right? So similarly, that vessel in its initial state of existence, it was like an embryo in a womb. It exists, but it has no consciousness of itself. It is there, but it doesn't sense anything. It is found in perfect bliss, in an environment that only cares for it, surrounds it with light and warmth and love. Everything is taken care of. Everything is for that little developing embryo, and yet it doesn't feel anything. So it had to be. So the next big step, and I'm skipping over a lot of important developmental intermediary stages here, where all kinds of qualities were printed into that embryo without its awareness. This is a process that Kabbalists reveal to us from very high levels of spiritual attainment. But in any case, the fast forward, this vessel has to be shattered in order to reconnect in a conscious way. That's the whole story. That's the whole story. You wanted the whole story in one. And so how does this have anything to do with what's happening today? Right? Should we answer that? Can we answer that?
Yeah. So what I wanted you to get to was this. So here again, we heard about the process of connection, right? Which is very different than, am I connected? Am I connected? You're talking about this vessel that once held the oneness,
Yes.
and then somehow that's related to us somehow.
We're talking about
And
a connection that is on the level of our desires and intentions. Dwell on this for just a minute. What does it mean that I am connected to the collective desire of mankind? That is a completely different perception that emerges, a completely different reality that emerges. We are not talking about hugging people. That's a nice gesture. Why not? I mean, you can smile at people and hug people, but that's not the connection we're talking about. We're also not talking about some agreements, treaties, political ties. That's not connection. That's just me with my interests and you with your interests. We're coming to some sort of an agreement about how we can take advantage of each other while we still, I'm good if you take my money and I'll take your oil or whatever, That's not connection. We're not talking about moral connection or ethics, because that also is dependent on time and culture and where you come from. Different people have different customs and different habits and different codes of behavior. So that too is not the connection that we're talking about. We are talking about an eternal connection that has to do with the substance of our being. And the substance of our being is desire. That's the level of our desires and intentions. That's the level hidden from our five senses, found deep within us, not inside our body, right? Of course, but it's deep within our essence, within our being. We have to find that layer of reality and make a connection between us on that level. And and here's the big thing, here's why it has everything to do with what's happening in the world right now. When we start from within, when we make that connection on an internal level, on the levels of desires and intentions, then by extension, the other layers of reality will respond. So we need to make like a change of millimeters on that spiritual dimension, and then everything will move accordingly. All the rest of the levels of reality will move accordingly, from galaxies in the universe to viruses on planet Earth, to how we recognize that we have to change our economic, political, and social systems. That is the science that we don't yet have today. We don't see the connection
So all
between
of these,
our inner
so
world and
all,
our outer world. Yeah, go ahead.
right. Okay. So all of these disturbances on the outer world that are coming to us, we think of them as a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Can't I just have one day? Yesterday was so hard and the morning was so good. And why is my basement flooded right now? Or why, whatever it is. So all of these disturbances coming from the outside, we're not connected to them. They're
Disturbances as
outside of
in,
us.
so like crises or problems, or right? Yeah.
Anything, right? But specifically, we're talking about the big ones that are coming towards humanity, but even our personal ones. And we see them. There's me,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a problem that's coming at me, that's towards me,
Yeah.
against me. When we have this thing called connection, we really need better language for it because these words don't have any power anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, women and men are like real mixed up in our culture today.
It's just the beginning of it. It's gonna get even more
So, but
weird.
like in the past,
It's let me just throw in there. It's gonna get even more weird, and there's a spiritual reason for why all
no,
of
I don't mean
this
genders, but okay,
thing is happening. Okay, put it aside.
but
Yeah.
if I wanted to, when it's time for me to get married, it's
Yeah.
not like today I can walk outside and there's like thousands of women around, or I can go on an app and swipe through 1,000 women. It was like I lived in a village. Somehow I was presented with something, and then and then that happens. Where today it's like, it was such a good example. What was I trying to relate it to?
I don't know, but
Wow.
I
Okay,
think
it'll come back.
I
It'll come
think I
back to me.
made
So
you forget. Yeah.
all of these problems, we have to see how they are orchestrated for us.
Yes, the problems don't happen for us to correct them. They happen to correct us. And then if we correct, if we adapt according to what nature's pressures on us, then we also learn how to respond to nature on all levels. This is where, Seth, this is where it gets a little uh, complicated. I don't know if we want to get into it in the time we have left, but there's because people might misconstrue what we're saying as, okay, so these Kabbalists, what they're about is just, find your soul or something deep in inner that I don't understand, and that will fix all the problems in the world, right? And that too is inaccurate, because reality is one reality. The Kabbalist doesn't go hide in a cave and work on finding their spiritual connection to the rest of humanity,
Unless
and that's
somebody's
it.
trying to try and kill them, then they
Of
have
course,
to hide in a cave. But
sure,
besides
sure,
that,
yeah,
typically we don't hide in caves.
yes, but
It does
but
happen, but not every day.
sure, yeah, but even even the Kabbalist who has to hide in a cave must still go out of the cave at some point and get food. You know what I mean? We don't expect the food to just arrive into the cave, right? The In any way, what I'm trying to say is reality is one reality, and we have to come into balance with reality on all levels. So yes, this world, including how we use our technology and economics and how we use the resources of the planet, all of those things, they will too have to be redesigned. We're going to have to find a new way to do all those things in a way that's balanced. But it's not going to start from the outside. From technology, therefore, will never be the savior. The inner technology is what we're missing. And then we will also know how to use correctly our outer technology. And the same with science. This is really what we're missing. The science that we have today is predicated on the idea that there is a world outside of us and we need to understand it as best as we can in order to use it. The researcher and the researched, the object of research are two different things. Kabbalistically speaking, the approach is also scientific. We need to experiment, we need to get results, we need to test, we need to measure, we need to come to a formula that works. But the researcher and the object of research are not disconnected. A Kabbalist researches the whole of reality through their own inner vessel. And that's where they find connection to the rest of the broken vessels. That's where we find connection to the deeper, more fundamental layer of reality that holds all of the other still vegetative, inanimate, and human appearances that we see through our five senses. That deeper reality is a reality of desire. Yeah.
Suppose I'm sitting at a dinner table, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at the dinner table with some. How's your back, by the way? I see you keep.
Something
you
is
some
really
problem?
wrong. Something is really wrong.
You know what I do?
You
I
see,
have this one's a soft one. I have these lacrosse balls. You know what lacrosse is? I have a hard one and a soft one. I put it on my chair
Yeah.
and I lean on it or on the ground, and it gets a pressure point. And you could breathe.
Yeah.
You have to do a really nice breath into it. That's it helps a lot. I keep one in the car as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, I
Okay.
should get
You
one.
have to do deep breaths from your belly.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine you're sitting at the dinner table, and there's a person sitting there with you who is going to do a business deal with you, and you're going to make $100 million. All right. So you're sitting there,
Okay.
and you know, with every bite you take, you're like bubbling with joy. You're like, oh, you don't mind. You have to go walk to the bathroom. Every step is like you're on a cloud.
Right.
And then you go to the bathroom and washing your hands. The water never felt so good on your hands. And you take the towel, taking your time because you know you are about to get $100 million. And you walk back and you pull the chair out nice and slow and you sit down and fix your jacket a little bit and put the every move, everything right. Because you know you're going to get $100 million. Now next to you is your brother and his child who's 2 years old at the same table.
All right.
The 2-year-old is interested in the applesauce, the mashed potatoes on the table.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Kabbalist still being in this world with everyone else, so to speak, kind of living on both levels, what is the difference between being at that table as the 2-year-old who's interested in the potatoes, the mashed potatoes with some butter and salt, or you who knows what treasure is standing right in front of you? Same dinner table. How many forks are on the table? 6. How many chairs are at the table? 6, however many.
Same applesauce.
You know, how long does the dinner last? An hour and a half. It's the same world. What are you talking about? It's the same. You got potatoes, I got potatoes. You got a fork, I got a fork. It's the same world, right? What do you mean? The Kabbalist's world is the same world. No, he lives in the same world. He sits down at the table just like me. But his perception, his feeling of everything is a completely different feeling.
That's a good one. Okay, here's another simple example that I think we can bring up, and that's animals. It's so simple, you know. Animals, the whole animal kingdom and the biosphere, I'm including the plants and animals together. So that whole world is a world of creatures who are who have an instinctive connection to the governing program of nature. And they do all kinds of things in our world. The birds fly, and the fish, what do the fish do? They swim. They swim.
Yeah.
Fish swim, would you say?
Do they sleep?
Anyway, I'm kidding. So the fish swim, and the dogs do what the dogs do, right? Anyway, they eat, they procreate, they are doing everything in this world, but all the animal kingdom, what they're doing is, in some magical way, they know how to maintain balance. The lion will not, try to hoard some deer to himself against his other friend lions or something like that. In fact, when they're satiated, they will keep walking and continue with their herd to do other things, and they will never try to build themselves on the ruin of others.
Like let's catch another one and save them for later.
Yeah, it's like, let's let's catch some deer, put a fence around them, and maybe give some to those who can pay us with interest. It's like, so their whole existence is based on an instinctive sensation of the natural program. Birds fly because now scientists discover they have an inner GPS connected to the magnetic field of planet Earth that we don't see or feel or and very, very loosely understand. This is something that is still very much a mystery to Earth scientists.
I don't actually have that magnetic GPS at all.
Right. So here's the thing. So animals have that, except
Is it possible to have the opposite of that?
That's exactly what we humans have. Yes, great. That's a great angle, man. We have the opposite GPS. Yes, we have what we call in Kabbalah the human ego. It is a level of it's not a cosmic mistake. Evolution is not some dumb program that
relate this
humans,
ego that you're talking. Relate the ego you're talking about to that vessel from 25 minutes ago.
Right. So the sensation of the shattering, of feeling that we are disconnected, feeling that we repel each other, feeling that we resist each other, it manifests in each and every person's desire to be more or have more than others. That comes from this new level of development called ego that does not exist in any other creature, still vegetative or animate, only on the human level. And it also took time. Historically, it took time for it to completely emerge. And in the 21st century, we've reached a point where this ego is now at full display. It's coming to a point where it's completing its development. And that means that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because while we see a lot of chaos and conflict and all the rest, it means that we are now ready for the next level of development and the next science that will emerge. All of our sciences were based on that ego. How can I take advantage of others or the planet? What's economy? It's how can we take advantage of each other and still survive, right? What's political science? How can we be in some relations between us in order to have a social order, right? What is mineralogy? Sorry, how to use the minerals. It's all about how to use what we get, how to understand and use in order to use what we get and feel in our five senses. What we need today is a new level of science. We need to discover how connecting the pieces of the vessel, that's what it means. Kli means vessel in Kabbalah. It's the same, that's the technical Hebrew term, Kli. So we need to discover that we already are discovering that we are shattered, we're disconnected, we're egoistic towards each other. We need the science of how to put the pieces together, and as a result, all the other layers of our experience will also change. There will be a ripple effect. So just like the pigeons or whatever, feel the GPS and it tells them where to go at what time of the year, what food they should eat, what food they shouldn't eat, what is their role in the natural system, we too, as we begin to develop this level of connection to each other and to the natural program, we will attain the mind of nature. Unlike the animals who are just instinctively following it in a programmed fashion, we will do it consciously, and that's the whole that's where we're going. That's what's unique about the 21st century. This is the great transition. This is the new science that will emerge. We're going to gradually see how our desires and intentions towards each other influence the whole of reality, including the viruses around us and the climate destabilization and everything else. It's going to become one picture.
Kli also meaning tool, right? So that's also interesting.
That's
in the science
another, or
example.
device. Yeah, device is
Device, yeah. So it's like becomes this thing that you can use as part of this new scientific revolution.
Yeah, you wanted me to go more technical, but I don't know. I was cautious.
If we
to
want to
keep it
be
understandable. Yeah.
No, it was very understandable. If you want to be rich, go find some rich people and model their behavior.
Yeah.
If you want to be smart, find some smart people.
Sounds like
and
a song.
Model their behavior. If we want to reach this perception of reality, like the guy at the dinner table who was going to, I used $100 million, but we're talking about a spiritual perception. We're talking about beyond time and space, move up, down, right, left, back, forth, forward, backward in time. If we're talking about attaining something, that oneness that you discussed at the beginning, that many, many people felt that there is something, but to actually reach it and know what it is and to be one with it. So then we follow the Kabbalist. And when we're reading from the Kabbalists in their books, what they're giving us, it does not make sense to the mind at all. Doesn't make sense. A lot of it. Now, you're going through the first steps. We're putting all the landmarks in, but once all the landmarks are there, and I'm dropped into that space, and I understand what the features are of this new landscape, it does not make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Because I'm looking at it from my five senses. I'm looking at it from my body. And so if I want to be rich, I follow the rich. If I want to feel what the Kabbalist is writing to me, I'm trying it. I don't feel it. I wouldn't do this. If I already knew how to be rich, I'd be rich. So I'm going to do the things the rich one's doing because he already has the experience. He's already been down this road. And so when I start to do these things, of course, I can't agree with them. I don't understand them because it's not talking about anything I'm familiar with. I don't have any sense to it. But that's what this science is. And we have to figure out, everybody together, how do we make it more and more clear for ourselves? How do we start getting results, start seeing where this is working? How to communicate it more and more clear to each other and to everybody here at some level. We'll need to teach people, explain to people, slowly. It'll have to drift out how we're all one, but not one as just some slogan, but how like the hydrogen and the oxygen. And as we start coming together in the right way that's described to us, even though I don't exactly understand it, because I'm spending my whole life with my ego trying to get for me, but somehow they're explaining to me how to connect above this pa'ar, above this distance. And then we start to see something very special. Wow, Asaf, nice one. Chris, thanks, bro.
Ooh, I appreciate our listeners. There's a lot of stuff happening in the chat, and yeah, I appreciate our listeners because it feels like we're making steps together, closer to bringing this reality of connection and this science of connection to become something that more and more people can feel and experience in the world. So thank you everyone for being with us.
Asaf, I see Patricia said, will Seth sing today? Patricia, I will prepare to sing next time. I only have an electric guitar over here, which we won't hear if I play here. But Asaf, are we on next Thursday, or is there some holiday next Thursday or something?
That's a great question. I need to look into it. You want me to look right now?
Let's try and solve right now.
It is Yom Kippur next Thursday. It's still the holiday of Yom Kippur next Thursday.
Right. So we have a holiday here in Israel. It is Thursday. Yeah, we won't broadcast.
Okay, so next live music, not next Thursday, the following Thursday. Thank you everyone for being here at the Great Transition, looking at what's going on in the world through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Asaf. Thank you. Big hug to all of our friends who are with us.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Not this coming Thursday, the following Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Big hug to everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Let's not pretend the world won't come to an end if we go on exploiting others with a devil-eyed grin. I'm guilty too, believe me, count me in. When we all accept the booby prize of a game we can't win. More simply said, don't do to others that which you hate is the beginning of a path to a positive fate. But don't wait, time's now where nature will bring the pain. Like a child who points a pin at their eye and gets smacked on the hand. We can't go back to living life the same as it's been. Dying every day, hoping tomorrow will live. That day has come, wake and rise and see what joy we can give. In care of others, we'll discover what true happiness is. But first things first, we all as one must come realize that the hate we see outside comes from behind our own eyes. United we stand and divided we fall. Divided we can, but united we fall. United we stand and divided we fall. Divided we can, but united we fall. United we stand and divided we fall. Divided we can, but united we fall. United we stand and divided we fall. Divided we can, but united we fall. Okay, let's just pretend for a second that everything's connected and it's also benevolent. Reality and truth fit for a dream. 8 billion lovers looking out for your well-being. No longer a need to concern for yourself, because in the new world, rich means building others' wealth. So everywhere you go, everyone you see is joyfully obsessed with taking care of your needs. When value is determined by who gives most, suffering and depression disappear like a ghost. If you're still not sure how this new life is born, there's a simple 3-step process to move us along. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn. Connect in love, hold tight, and night will turn into dawn.